Johannesburg, calling on industry players, academics and entrepreneurs in the energy sector to help find innovative solutions to the ongoing electricity crisis. At the heart of this findings, finding alternative and sustainable energy sources outside Eskom as the power utility continues to implement rolling blackouts. The city is hosting its inaugural Energy Indaba at the Sentin Convention Center for the next 2 days. That's today until tomorrow. Well, Pule Letshwiti-Jones, a reporter, has been following the discussions there, but he's back now in the studio just to give us a quick update what's been happening there. Good afternoon, Pule. Welcome back. Some people will say it's about blooming time Johannesburg was doing something like this, because you remember a few months ago, right, Cape Town was making noises as well of getting off the Eskom grid, getting alternative, sustainable, renewable energy sources to fire up the mother city. So the City of Gold thinking of doing the same thing. What does the mayor say?
Well, they're basically saying the city is open for business, hence the Indaba Energy Expo, which is looking at inviting all private sector players, academics, researchers to try and see how they can have this efficient energy and, of course, stabilized electricity in the city of Joburg, and that's what they're telling us. But currently, as it is right now, you'd also know that the city has been experiencing a lot of challenges in terms of cables being stolen, transformers blowing. You'd remember the El Dorado Park incident that just happened recently, and they're saying that this is costing them millions. But as it is right now, they're looking at going into a business with these independent private players to come and see how they can actually reflect on some of these challenges and see what are some of the solutions they can put on the table. But as it is right now, I just wanted to lend an ear to what one of the executives had to say at the expo today.
The city has pockets of land that it owns, but in some of the engagements that we've had, the thinking that's coming across is that they want to connect to the city's distribution network. So where we've set up our own substations, we'll be able to house these independent power producers, and they'll be able to plug into our network, and we will help them to distribute. And that's another mechanism we'll use for protecting our revenue, because we'll be able to then charge them a wheeling tariff for using our distribution.
That's Dr. Mpho, the new mayor of the coalition government in Joburg. Now, Pule, how does the city look at reducing reliance on Eskom? I mean, there are many ideas. I mean, the government has opened the way at the national level for IPPs to produce energy up to 100 megawatts, but there are all kinds of challenges. Even Eskom recently announcing that in Mpumalanga is going to give away some land or make some land available, for example.
So I remember the Cape Town mayor was posting on Twitter last time when there was load shedding, saying, I hope this won't affect our residents because we're going the IPP route. But as it is right now, the city of Joburg gets 90% of the electricity from Eskom. So they're saying they want to go the route of actually partnering with independent power producers and ensuring that they can have that sustainable independent energy which will not interrupt taxpayers in the city of Joburg. And they're also saying it will be cheap energy. Quite fortunately, saying that this will not have affordable for taxpayers like you and me, saying it's not going to affect residents living in the city of Joburg. That's something that's actually quite interesting. But they're looking at the 2030 vision. For all this to happen, they just need about 26 billion. Mpho believes, the doctor believes, this move is quite achievable. But for one like me and you, might have a bit of concerns because it still has to be passed through council. They still have to talk to National Treasury. Then get some of this funding.
I've got a tip for the city of Joburg. They must just reduce the red tape.
You know what I'm saying?
Just cut that down. Let's cut it down and fast track this process.
Definitely. And maybe we can just take a listen to what she has to say earlier on.
Just to create context, about 2 months or so back, we had load shedding, and in the Waterport area, when electricity came back, when Eskom switched us back on, 5 mini-subs blew because of the inrush current. Now, 1 mini-sub cost us 500,000 rands. So it therefore means in a space of a minute, City Power lost 2.5 million rands in one suburb of Waterport. So you can imagine the cost of all of this. And it's also because it's compounded by the fact that our own infrastructure is old, which then talks to the 26 billion. Now, you asked the question, when does all of this start in terms of investing into alternatives? It literally starts now, because the city, in as much as we are waiting for the private sector to come on board. The city has been able to, through its own funding processes, be able to allocate a sizable budget for city power so that we can kickstart with certain projects at least. We have the responsibility to start looking at traffic lights, for example, to get that off-grid, public lighting to get that off-grid. We've got other sister entities, for example, like Joburg Water, that when there's load shedding, they're greatly affected in terms of water supply, in terms of their sewer works. So we've got some funding so that we can then by ourselves start off taking that reliance away from ESCOM.
When you hear all of these, Pule, you think about a lot of stuff that's important. That was Chief Fularo, the Mashaba City Power Acting CEO. One of the issues is they're going to have to make sure that with this funding that you say they do still have, they make sure that whoever is going to be the winning IPP bidders are local Johannesburg business people to promote the local economy.
You touched on a very critical point, Pradan. When we spoke to some of the exhibitors who were there, they were saying that they hope that this time around the city of Johannesburg will prioritize local franchises and businesses specializing in IPP, whether solar energy, whether wind energy, as long as they are fit to actually bid and ensure that they can deliver what's expected of them. At the very same time, we do understand that investors are quite concerned about environmental sustainability. They're of the view that the carbon emission policies have to be within the framework of being adhered to, and they hope that whoever comes on board can adhere to that. But that's something we will see. Hopefully the city of Joburg will give these local players some.
It's day one today of this expo and of the Joburg, the inaugural energy expo. Tomorrow is the last day. You saw the exhibitions there. What kind of program should we be expecting up to tomorrow?
Quite innovative. I saw some of the guys who were there presenting their products as to how they can resolve issues of load shedding. Tomorrow we're expecting delegates and investors, more of them to come in. And of course that issue of cable theft will be addressed highly tomorrow by the MMC of Environment and Infrastructure, Michael San, and of course Dr. Mpopalati, the mayor, and the CEO, Chief Larry.
They also need to hear from David Tembe, the man who's in charge of safety and security, because they need to catch these guys who are stealing the cable.
Corruption is something that has also affected progress in the city of Joburg, and that's something they're hiding. And hopefully this time around there will be policies and framework to ensure that that does not happen, that finally we can get sufficient electricity without power cuts, blackouts, and load shedding.
As you said, it must be sustainable and efficient. Thank you very much, Pule Letshwiti-Jones. Still ahead here on Today.